XRP news script, simple English version. Someone just quit their job. Oh my goodness, it's not a joke. People who own XRP coins, hello there, amazing people. Peace and good luck, money makers. We're going to talk about digital money. We're going to talk about XRP. What did Trump say that shocked everyone? What happened to XRP prices this week? And what should we expect next week? Things could get really crazy. We might finally get out of this boring time in the digital money world. I'll show you a funny picture in a moment. You're going to love it. All I want from you is a big, beautiful smile to spread good feelings. Please hit that like button because it's Sunday Fun Day. Let's try to get 3,333 likes on this video. I know you guys can do it. So, I wanted to start with this funny picture here. XRP price movement this week. Basically, how all digital money moved this week, right? I'm going to add music because people said there was no music comments, right? Just up and down, up and down, up and down prices this week. But we're going into next week where we have PPI and CPI, which last time we saw the market go crazy both up and then down after the CPI and PPI. Remember, it went up after CPI and then dropped after PPI. So this is going to be really interesting to see what happens this week because of what happened last time. I think the market is a little worried about what could happen, and that's why we haven't seen much action over the last 5 days. This is nothing to worry about. Nothing to panic about. We've seen this before. We'll probably see this again. There's something really interesting that happened overnight that I thought when I woke up and read the news, I thought it would have affected the digital money market more. But it seems like it didn't. So maybe the market thinks it's a good thing. I'll tell you that in just a second. As always, I don't know what the market will do day to day. Of course, I'll never tell you to buy, to sell, or to keep your coins. This is not money advice. So, always do your own research before you decide to invest. Very, very important. Also, remember that I will never contact you on social media asking you to sign up for anything or to send me any money. Those are scammers. If you see this video anywhere other than YouTube, it is not me. It is a scammer. So, be careful out there. So, if we look at what's happening now, the stock market hit all-time highs before, and so did Bitcoin, right? And so did the digital money market, right? When we had that over 4.17 trillion mainly because of Bitcoin and the fact that Bitcoin still controls most of the market even though it has dropped back a lot. It's mainly because Ethereum and others have sped up and caught up a little bit. You can see, for example, Solana went up almost 100% since the low point that it saw there 94 back in April, and Ethereum same. It was at 1,400 now. It's over 4,000 once again. Even Bitcoin went from 75,000, didn't do 100%, but it rose, but less strong than what we saw from those. Other two big ones, and even XRP was all the way down at live back in April. So, we've seen a huge recovery since the panic, since the sell-off that we saw after the terror scare, right? Remember that? Remember when everybody thought it was the end of the world, the market is crashing, right? Remember that? So now we're in the situation that we're in, and after the kind of sell-off of the peak run-up, and I'm seeing these rumors around the Twitter world, crypto Twitter, as it's called that we hit the top, that's it, that this is the peak, that this wasn't even really fireworks, there wasn't really a big run-up. There wasn't really the same kind of action that we have seen before if you still believe that that is going to happen. And it means we're not at the top. We didn't peak here. That Bitcoin didn't peak at 123 and XRP didn't peak at 3,600 and Ethereum Solana didn't peak here. Like there's a lot of coins that are still at lower levels than they were in January. So, yes, maybe Bitcoin dropped back and people say, oh, this is the peak. But the rest of the market didn't really get close to the peak. Yes, XRP did, but others really didn't. Okay, so it's really interesting and important to remember that. Now, the big news that happened during the night was Japan's Prime Minister Ishiba has reportedly decided to quit his job. So he quit. According to what I read, it's more of a political thing that he didn't want the political party to fall apart. Like there was fighting inside fighting and they were going to tear apart, right? Something like that. And he decided to quit. Now, of course, this is not great when one of the biggest economies in the world, their prime minister suddenly decides to quit his job. And also when Japan's money situation isn't that great, before he said that it could be worse than the Greek debt crisis. We had, of course, the sell-off with the Japan carry trade that people forget about that. But that was a big situation that happened on the markets. And it was in August of 24, if you remember that, and the markets crashed. Maybe, and we had the stock market take a big drop in that area right here. And so there could be a situation that we need to think about and watch that. Okay, it could cause trouble. There could be a situation where maybe there's a prime minister that comes in after him to replace him and hates digital money. So we don't know how these things can turn out. Japan is one of the biggest investors in the digital money market. We've seen all the partnerships with XRP and SBI, or Ripple with SBI, and how they're using Rulust. So this will be really interesting to see. Hopefully we don't get a prime minister that again hates digital money or does things to change the situation. So that needs to be a little buy. T of a worry, but the markets didn't react to it too badly, that you know. So if I'm going to think that the market doesn't think that whoever is going to replace him is going to be bad for the digital money market, even it's a little bit going up here. But again, Sunday fun day, the weekly candle closes, we've seen a lot of tricks happen on Sunday, where it looks like it's going up in the morning or in the evening, and it totally flips after. So we have to think about that. But interesting XRP could be seeing a crossover here on the for 1348 EMA on the 4-hour chart at S. Well, we'll see how that plays out, even though we got a crossover from the top to the bottom of sell signal on the daily. Short term, we could maybe see a rise here. So the 4-hour gives us maybe a day or two action. The daily usually gives us a week, maybe even 2 weeks, and it could even be longer. And again, the weekly will give us potentially, maybe a few months, and that's how you use it in that way. So it'll be really interesting to see how all of this plays out. Now, you can always take advantage of the markets using leverage. If you're interested, our partner BTCC will give you the chance to do so that we do have a trading contest that is going on. And the more you trade, the more potential prizes you can win. Link is in description down below. But please trade safely. I made a lot of money with leverage, but I've also lost a lot of money with leverage. So be careful. Trade safely. Check out the link in description down below. You also have the $500,000 USDD prize pool, plus the chance to get a Jaren Jackson jersey. And remember that although BTCC has been around for 14 years, we've seen exchanges close down. We've seen them go broke, close positions. So read the user agreement. Make sure it's available to you in your country. And if you do sign up and use the real ACO, not the practice account. They do have a practice, so you can try that. I will get a commission. So, thank you for that. So what did Eric Trump just say? And has people talking. Let's take a listen. Every single day, a year ago, Jamie Dimon was saying, we're not going to touch digital money. And now they're probably running at digital money faster than anyone. You see what BlackRock's doing. You see, as I mentioned, what Schwab's doing. You see what nation states are doing. You see what states in this country are doing. Look what Texas just voted on, right? And they're in their legislature, literally being able to keep Bitcoin on their balance sheets, right? So all of a sudden you've got all these cracks in the dam that are breaking. The people who get in now are people who are getting in early. I believe that with all of my heart. And this is a global thing. This is something that everybody wants. This is something. It's probably the only thing in the world that has limited supply. There are 21 million. There will never be another one. Unlike gold, unlike other things. And I'm just watching it from far away as for the first time the money markets really have access to it or getting access to it. And so I think digital money is just starting. And I think the path of Bitcoin and of digital money is going to be amazing. And I really think we're going to have one of the greatest companies in the world. And that was launched obviously minutes ago. So this was recently what he said when, of course, they launched the WLFI and all that. But listen again when you have the sons of the president so into the digital money market and the president himself, it's so hard to think that this is the top. Maybe it is, but it's hard for me to understand how people think that it's the top. And someone said here, there is no more 4-year cycle. And maybe that's true. But Ralph Paul says here cycles are part of all econo. Mike's economies and markets. Some are longer and some are shorter. Some are more aggressive and some are more calm. They have been seen for thousands of years, either based on crop cycles in ancient times or credit debt cycles in recent centuries. My view is that one may be extended by 6 to 9 months based on debt maturity length, interest rates, financial conditions, and liquidity. But as always, we are dealing with possibilities and not certainties, right? You don't know exactly how it's going to play out. Sometimes cycles play out the same time, sometimes they don't. That's why, for example, in technical analysis, it says here Ali says XRP consolidates in a triangle ahead of a 25% price move, right?